Hey my friends, what's up? Today is the day. After all, waking up to the news that we'll have a Brazilian driver on the grid doesn't happen every day, with Sauber officially announcing that Gabriel Bortoleto will be their driver from 2025 onwards. But who is Gabriel Bortoleto? Did he deserve to be in Formula One? Is he a paying driver? We'll tell you all the details in this video, full of information. So, to make sure you don't miss anything, subscribe and turn on notifications, as this is the only way to stay up to date with everything about the world of Formula One. And if you like this video, leave a like to support our work. Well, on Wednesday morning, the Audi team finally announced the signing of Brazilian Gabriel Bortoleto for the 2025 Formula One season, with Valtteri Bottas and Guanyu Zhou ending their participation in Formula One for now, and the team's duo for this transition phase from Sauber to Audi is complete, with Hulkenberg taking over the other car. And from the beginning, when speculation arose about Bortoleto signing with Sauber, some people were surprised since they didn't know Bortoleto that well, and other names like Felipe Drugovich seemed much closer to F1 than he was. But Bortoleto has a very interesting history in motorsport, even though he's only 20 years old, which shows how quickly he's evolved and shown good performances in the junior categories. Starting in single-seaters in 2020, the driver participated in the Italian Formula 4, where he drove the Prima team's car, which is one of the most important in the junior categories. And in his debut season, the Brazilian already achieved a victory and 4 podiums, finishing the championship in 5th place and seeing his teammate become the great champion, with him establishing a good foundation and showing that even at a very young age, he had a talent to keep an eye on. In 2021, it was his turn to try Frica, the European Formula Regional, and that was exactly where one of the turning points in his career began, with him working for the first time with Fernando Alonso, since in this category, Bortoleto drove the car of Alonso's team, FA Racing. And of course, not everything is perfect, and even in such a special season, the Brazilian did not have an easy life, competing against more experienced drivers and having to establish himself little by little, managing to score much more points as the season went on and climbed the standings, finishing the year as the team's best driver. Coming into 2022, Bortoleto remained at FRECA, but changed teams, being hired by none other than the champion team of the previous season, which would give him the chance to compete at a higher level, with a stronger car, and yes, with a greater chance of victory. So much so that in the entire season, which included 20 races, he only failed to score points in 4 of them, some of which were not his fault due to technical problems, winning twice and reaching the podium in 3 more stages, finishing 6th in what is one of the most competitive junior categories in world motorsports. The following season, Bortoleto reached Formula 3 driving for the Trident team, with this year being a turning point in his career, since due to his performance so far, he once again caught the attention of Fernando Alonso, who at that moment became his manager in motorsports. And right on his debut in Bahrain, Bortoleto simply won race 2 after a penalty for the leader, starting this important year on the right foot. Little by little, the Brazilian showed great balance and a calmness and coolness that made him compete for the title this year, with him winning races little by little and even before racing in the last race of the season. In Italy, Bortoleto had already become Formula 3 champion, in what was one of his best and most dominant seasons in motorsport so far. With that, of course, the driver evolved and got a place in Formula 2 precisely in a season where several changes and regulations took place, with cars that were very different from the ones he had driven until now, and that demanded much more from the driver than before. But despite having to adapt, Bortoleto started the 2023 season well, taking pole position in the first race of the season, and then becoming a little more shy in some situations, getting used to competing against much more experienced drivers, which happened very naturally, with him gradually showing very strong performances and heading towards the top of the championship. In the 4th race of the year, Bortoleto stood on the podium for the first time this season, and a few races later, he took his first Formula 2 victory, finishing 3rd in the championship. And another major turning point in the driver's career came on the weekend of the Italian race, which was the 11th of the season, where Bortoleto started in last place in the main race due to a mistake in the classification. While he continued to focus on F2, negotiations evolved, and Valtteri Bottas seemed to be his main rival for this spot, since the Finnish driver's experience was also interesting for Sauber at this time of transition, with McLaren, which had hired the driver for its academy some time ago, initially making these negotiations difficult since it did not want to lose ties with Bortoleto. But little by little, the team gave in, and so the negotiations really started to move forward, with the arrival of our home GP here in Brazil, consecrating this negotiation, and Bortoleto finally closing all the details of his new contract for 2025. Until on Wednesday, November 6th, the Sauber team finally officially announced that Gabriel Bortoleto will be its driver for the 2025 season, in a multi-year contract that takes Brazil back to Formula One after almost a decade. Explaining why he chose Bortoleto over other available names, Binotto explained that the Brazilian has shown throughout his career in the junior categories that he is a winning driver, and that together with him, they began a journey towards success, paving the way for Audi's entry into Formula One and forming a perfect duo, with Hulkenberg being the experienced part and Bortoleto the youth, which is excellent for the future. Well, even with this announcement of Bortoleto being hired by Sauber, the Brazilian still needs to finish his season in Formula 2, where he is currently the championship leader, with 2 more races to seal another milestone in his career, winning Formula 3 in his debut season, and also, if everything goes well, Formula 2 in his debut season. We are looking forward to seeing him driving the Sauber car next year, which, despite being the worst on the grid, promises to show great progress in 2026, with the team wanting to take advantage of this first season without any pressure for Bortoleto to adapt to Formula One, so that in 2026, Audi will be much more competitive with a car and engine manufactured in-house, making it clear that they want to get to F1 to compete at the top of the grid, taking advantage of this change in regulations. To do so, Bortoleto has had a very successful career in Formula One, where we hope that the success he has had so far will be overshadowed by the success he will have in the biggest category in world motorsports. So welcome to Formula One, Gabriel Bortoleto. And you, tell me in the comments, do you think Bortoleto will live up to the challenge in Formula One? Are you excited about the news that we have a Brazilian on the grid again?